Okay, so what we're gonna do is Okay, we are on live right now.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, also to speak directly into the mic.
That's good. Make sure you each arrange your microphones so that you speak.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Good morning. Let's find a seat quickly. We're about to start the meeting. All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the March Bicycle, Pedestrian and Traffic Safety Committee meeting. I'll begin with item 1, which is our call to order, and the roll call, please. I am Chair Ed Holland.
Kevin Welch.
Angela Hay.
Howard Young, Public Works Director.
Can you all see me?
Yes.
Hi. Hi, I'm Jacqueline Davis. I had messaged with Ed briefly. I'm on our Trails and Paths Committee, and just during the portion of your meeting where committee members or other people in town speak, I just wanted to take a couple minutes to update you on some mapping projects we're doing and how they relate to your committee.
Yes, thank you. Well, item 2 is our opportunity for oral communications and items not on the agenda. And I know, Jacqueline, you and I have spoken by email a few times, moving up to this point. So if you could just take a very quick 2 minutes to
Sure.
Describe our next path forward. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, I will not take much of your agenda. Yeah, I just wanted to update you. So we've been working on this project to update our town's trails maps, both the public all trails maps and also a safe routes to school map that focuses in on the trails that are near school and safe and suggested to use to both commute to school and also other community hubs after school, like Alpine Hills in the town center. You know, we're on like draft 12 or something. It's been a big project. We've been walking all the trails to ensure accuracy on the map, checking signage, checking trail condition, and also having to track down, you know, easements to confirm usage and just coming to general consensus. So we're getting there. But specifically on our Safe Routes to School project, there are many intersections that will be highlighted on the map. I mean, really all of them that are near into within about a 2-mile radius of the school. The 3 in particular that we feel get heavy use by children are the one at Triangle Park, so that's Portola and Alpine, which has the crossing guard. But then there's also the intersection at Alpine Hills and at the Priory that get heavy usage by kids both walking and on bikes. Fortunately, you know, thanks to the work of your committee, we understand that flashing beacons are going to be put in those 2 areas. And I know these have been talked about and take time to get implemented. We do check in with Howard at our meetings about these. We understand that they're currently in the design and review phase. We had been under the impression that it was, you know, trying to be pushed to get done this summer, which kind of aligned well with our goal is to present to the community these updated safe route to school map before kids return to school next year. So just kind of wanted it to be on your radar and for you all to know that this is something we've been working on and that those intersections are very important for, we feel, advertising these are safe routes. So just wanted to bring you up to speed and then also, you know, check in, and if we could just get maybe a 30-second update from you on where you feel the flashing beacons. Like, you know, from Howard, I know that there's working in collaboration with you. And is that something you feel you're pushing to try and get done this summer, or like where you feel the status is? And any questions for me?
Thank you very much. I think Howard, you're expecting to update us a little bit with progress or the current status in your public works update.
Yes, that's part of the agenda.
Okay, I can check back in on the minutes. And I mean, we talked to Howard about it, but it's kind of just understanding. I know that there's things that he needs from you all too. And just trying to see if you all do think indeed that can be something this summer. But it sounds like you'll be talking about it later in the meeting.
I'll comment quickly that this committee is certainly interested in supporting safe routes to school and anything we can do by way of cross-committee working to support that. And when we have the resources among our members to do that, I think that would be a great path forward. So that's something I'm quite willing to keep on our agenda as a running item for our regular committee business.
Okay, and I can continue to, as I said, the latest draft needs some changes. So I'm happy to share it as we feel we're getting to a more final draft with you all and see if there's any feedback from your group as well.
Yes, please, that would be great.
The feedback I would have is that there are a lot of mountain bikes and that the signage is inadequate for my mountain bikes because people don't know where you're allowed to ride, and they're riding on areas where bikes are not supposed to go nearly every day. So I would consider your signage very important.
Yeah, signage is we've been checking every single sign on the trails and kind of talking through what needs to happen there. So that is part of
They're unreadable, rotated in the direction they're rotated because you have to look sideways and nobody looks sideways on a bike.
Yeah, okay, thanks for that. I'll be sure to note it. So I'm going to go ahead and jump off of this, but I will check in on your meeting minutes and see, just kind of where the conversation goes with the beacons. Thank you.
Thank you.
I see a hand raised from Caroline Bazonian. You have a public comment. Please take your 2 minutes and bring that to us. Thank you, Caroline.
Can you hear me? Excuse me, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I apologize that I'm late. There was no connection with the phone, so I apologize. So I don't know what other people have said. But yes, I sent you an email because I thought that the minutes were incomplete. And we hope to help you add to the minutes, but we don't have access to the recording. So I hope that is an option. And I also see that, there is a process that can be used with this new system where you see the text as you have the meetings. So I think that's closed caption. And I was wondering if we can use that to produce the minutes. Those are my suggestions. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline.
Yeah, and through the chair, if those comments, Caroline, you can also submit to the town clerk, Melissa, for those requests. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to our next item, which is, there are no further public comments. On to our approval of the meeting minutes from February 1st, 2023. I would have proposed that they be accepted, but if there are inaccuracies and something to add, I can allow some time for that to be reviewed and resubmitted.
I have not had a chance to read it, not received the copy.
Defer approval of the minutes until our next meeting?
No, I think we should approve them. I mean, I wrote them, so I don't have any problem with them. And remember, they are minutes. We don't have to put every detail in them.
The minutes were collected by Pat Bannon.
Oh, that's right.
And I updated them.
Oh, that's right.
So
yeah, you're right. I was thinking of the January minutes. Sorry. Okay.
So postpone approval of the minutes.
Okay.
Thank you. And there was I think that's a mistake. The motion to approve a minor change to the minutes from the November 2nd meeting. Error in the recorded time of the adjournment, which was 9 a.m. Not 9 p.m.
Yeah. I correct it on resetting. I think I corrected it when I resubmitted it.
Thank you. Item 4 is our update from the sheriff. I don't think we have, is Patrick Taylor online today? Or anybody from the sheriff's office? Okay. They did send us their figures for citations and issues in town that they'd seen, but I have not had a chance to look at that this time. Okay. I'll review that next time. I think with everybody's permission, I would like to change the order of the current agenda to reverse the order of items 5 and 6. And move
Can you open this to so the public can comment on the sheriff report, because that's really bothersome to me that we don't have a report.
Who is this, please?
Christy Corley. I'm just asked for this for every meeting, and I'm surprised we don't have a sheriff report when it's our largest contract in Portola Valley. So if we have a contract with the sheriff and he's not reporting as to crime and as to traffic, this is our main priority in public access, to get that report. And we're not getting it the last 2 months. So there was no report for November, December, January, February. I mean, are we 4 months behind on a report?
No, we had
no. There was a report received.
Well, it said 0 traffic violations for November and December because we hadn't filled out the proper paperwork for California so they can use their LiDAR and their equipment they're supposed to use. So is that contract with the state or the form now filled out so they can fully use their equipment to protect our town?
I think coming back, Patrick Taylor has logged in. I would like to move his comments to the end of the meeting, if with everybody's agreement. We do have a through today, and I'd like to make sure we make time for the planning applications review. So if you please bear with me, and also change the order of our public works update and bring the planning applications to the fore. Thank you very much. So we have 2 items on that score today. Item 6A, which is a request to retain an existing double access driveway at Hillbrook Drive, and a second to retain an existing double access driveway new build at 127 Ramoso Road. I'd like to request from Laura Russell a format to go ahead with these reviews. The exact details of the process going forward and the context of these applications and what it means with regard to BPTS's review of them was not exactly made clear, with very much time to review both the principles and the rules pertaining to the municipal code and the context of the application and the committee's judgment on this. So Laura, I'd like to ask you for a bit of a framework on how to move forward on this. And also for everybody who would like to make comments, and you're very welcome to keep those to around 2-3 minutes. And please make all your comments through the chair and not between the other parties in the meeting. So thank you very much. Laura, could you please help us out?
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. I think I know everyone, but just in case, I'm Laura Russell, Planning and Building Director. These types of applications do not come up very often, so it is unusual for us to have 2 at the same time. So I just wanted to give just a little bit of background and a suggestion for the format. The municipal code gives the authority to this committee to make a decision about double access or loop driveways. And then the projects still have to go through their regular approval by the ASCC. So this has been in the code for a long time, but it doesn't come up very often. In the 4.5 or so years that I have worked for the town, we've only had one other such application, and that one was approved by the BPTS. They had specific context there that was analyzed and found to be acceptable to maintain that loop driveway. So the code authority for the decision-making rests with you. And since we don't often have this kind of item, my suggestion to you is to follow the same format that we would normally use with a town council item or planning commission or ASCC item. And that format is to have the staff, that's us, and one of the two planners, give you a very brief presentation on that item. We have the site plans available to show with you on the share screen if you would like to see those. And then you would ask any questions that you have of us, the planning staff, on that application. Next, you would take any comments or report from the applicant. And then after that, you would ask any questions of the applicant. Then you would have public comments. And then we would return to the committee for your discussion and decision on the item. While you're in discussion and decision on the item, you should not engage in kind of any back and forth conversation or usually not take any more public comments. But if you did have questions for planning staff or for the applicant, you may wish to ask any additional clarifying questions while you're in your discussion format. So we recommend that you take the projects one at a time and follow that general procedure. And I'd be happy to help along the way since I'm in a lot of meetings where these kinds of projects are reviewed on a regular basis. And the applicant is an architect that works often in town and he's familiar with these procedures as well. So we think between all of us, we can move through them pretty quickly on our side. So I hope that that's helpful.
Laura, thank you very much for making that clear. I think that is acceptable. Absolutely. Thank you. So let's go ahead. And I think the opening part of this would be the comments from the town and the planning department. Yeah.
Yes, and I also wanted to point out that our work on the staff side is a combination of planning and engineering work. And so we have the two planners are available today. And we also have from Howard's team, Jay Radke from NV5, who does our peer review engineering work for us. So that represents the staff team this morning.
Okay,
so the first item we're ready to go ahead and talk about if you're ready through the chair.
Yes, thank you very much. And that will be the site development at 3 Hillbrook Drive.
And here's Jake Garcia, one of our consultant planners.
Great. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Laura, and good morning, BPTS committee. Thank you for having us this morning. My name is Jake Garcia. I'm a consulting planner for the town of Portola Valley. The item before you this morning is a request to retain an existing double access driveway for a new single family residence and site development at 3 Hillbrook Drive. The homeowner of 3 Hillbrook Drive has applied for an architectural review and site development permit to demolish the existing single family residence and construct a new 5,141 square foot single family residence with an attached garage and carport and an 800 square foot detached accessory dwelling unit. The homeowner has also proposed to retain an existing double access driveway, which is why the item is before you today. When a project applicant proposes demolition of an existing house and construction of a new house, the design is required to meet all requirements of the municipal code. The town's municipal code section 15.12.300 does not permit double access driveways unless determined necessary for reasons of safety by the traffic committee. To support the request, the applicant has provided a technical memorandum evaluating the safety of the driveway prepared by the project engineer. And to assist the BPTS with their decision, the town engineer has provided a peer review of the technical memorandum provided by the applicant. Based on the information provided, the town with the BPTS deny the request to maintain the existing double access driveway with construction of a new house because it does not meet the municipal code criteria for approval of an exception. And that's it for my staff presentation. Both town staff and applicant team are available for any questions by the BPTS committee, and the homeowner would like to introduce himself and speak to the project briefly as well. Thank you.
My name is Dale King. We've lived there for 10 years. Thank you, committee, for everything they do.
We cannot hear. Thank you.
You maybe turn on your microphone. There's a switch on the top.
Hello? Yes.
The town microphone strike again.
Well, maybe you can sit at one of these microphones.
Thank you.
Okay, Laura, can you hear me now?
We can hear now on Zoom.
Great, getting nods. So we have a unique property. We are on the bottom of Hillbrook Drive, and right now our double access driveway, the top portion is pretty close to a curve up Hillbrook, and the bottom portion is closer to a stop sign. I don't believe there's anything negative about our request to keep an existing 1969 driveway. In the middle of that driveway are established redwood trees and native plants. The Conservation Committee actually thought it was great not to disturb that, keep nature intact. But I'm going to speak a little bit to safety. Our safety memo clearly points out the dangers of two things. First, if you pull into Hillbrook, we're the first house, and that driveway is pretty close to entering Hillbrook. So if you stopped at that stop sign, or if you stopped to turn left into our first driveway, you would be at risk of getting rear-ended. It's a minor safety risk. The other thing is, if you are to exit egress from the property from the northern driveway, that is close to a steep hill and a curve with cars coming down with limited sight lines. There is typically a car parked in front of that driveway, primarily from our neighboring property, which is a flag lot. So they just have a driveway. So if they have any gardeners or healthcare providers over, that is where they park. If I look at the town engineering review, I read that as the town engineer agreed with some of the safety concerns with caveats. For example, the town engineer says, yes, if you were to pull onto Hillbrook Drive and turn left into that first driveway, it might be a safety concern, but that's very rare, because the only time you would stop to turn into that driveway is if there was a car coming down Hillbrook. I agree with that 100%. It is a rare occurrence. So it is safe most of the time, except when it's not. And then that's my issue, those occurrences when it's not. Similarly, when you exit the top driveway, I don't see anything in the town's engineering review that debates that exiting from the lower driveway, traffic is moving slower, better sight lines to you. I see nothing that argues that that is actually a safer egress point. I see the engineering review to say the top driveway is safe enough. And I would ask the committee to think of this from the aspect of, safe enough isn't how I would judge this project. To me, this is black and white. The current driveway structure is safer than a single entrance at either the upper or lower driveway. It is a safer driveway. It meets the town code. I think it should be approved. I believe the town is asking you to look at this as a gradient and to say it's not safer enough to satisfy the municipal code of keeping a 1969 incumbent driveway. So because it's not quite safer enough, because the risk of rear-ending is not that frequent, and it's not, it doesn't really meet the criteria, I would ask the committee not to look at it as a safer enough, because I could exit out of either driveway, no problem. My children are here because it's probably going to take 2 years to build a house. Rush is going to be driving first, then Serafina, then August. And this is for my children. I don't want them to get in an accident, entering or exiting the property. So to me, it's black and white. I wouldn't look at this as a gradient. It's safer. It meets the town code. It should be approved.
Thank you. I do have one question, perhaps that is for you on the planning application, and that will be in the case of limiting to one driveway only, what would be the plan B?
I don't believe either current access point is safe. I think you would do a driveway in the middle of the property and probably take out native plantings and some of the redwood trees in the middle. That would be my probably fallback plan. And I believe I would get a lot of pushback from the Conservation Committee on doing so.
Thank you. I think, Laura, does that leave us with our next comment from the from Carter?
Yeah, I would go to, I don't know if Carter also wishes to speak since the homeowner has already spoken. So if the applicant has finished their statements, then we should take any questions that the committee may have for staff or for the applicant.
All right, thank you.
I don't have any questions. I mean, it's been there all this time, and if it's been there all this time and we haven't had a problem, I suggest we approve it.
I have no difficulty. I just looked at it now. It's the first time I've seen it.
I mean,
so I have no problem with it.
In principle, nor do I. And the only thing that I feel I've been backed into a corner, and the committee backed into a corner somewhat, is that there's this detail in the municipal code that demands a driveway is removed for an existing driveway that's been there for, well, whatever is that, nearly 24 years. Sorry, 53 years.
69.
Carter, I think you have a comment. Very quickly, please.
I was going to defer to Dale, but I just wanted to read the ordinance. It's 1512-300 driveway design features. Paragraph J: double access or loop driveways, 2 entrances to a road or street shall not be permitted unless determined necessary for reasons of safety by the traffic committee. The issue that I have with existing double access driveways is that they have existed. They're in existence. This says will not be permitted. From an owner's standpoint, and probably from a layperson's standpoint, those driveways were permitted because in this case it was actually done after the town's incorporation, and the town had design review with the ASCC since 1967. So this project was designed and approved, by the town and through the ASCC process. So it is my hope that double access driveways that are in existence would continue to be able to be used, as an embodied asset, to the owners, since the town did approve them, and unless there are known safety concerns, if there had been accidents, if there are known issues, that are of a safety problem, or if the public works director determines that he needs that area for something else. I don't think it's right to revoke them because someone wants to build a new house.
And your distinction would be, where a new plot of land to be built on, you would not permit the creation of a double access driveway. Exactly. The pre-existing one is not necessarily forbidden.
Well, that's my interpretation as a citizen of the town. I mean, my house doesn't have a driveway at all.
I'd like to perhaps deflect or put this question back to Laura. What is your reading on that interpretation of the municipal code? And Howard, I'd like to put that as a question to you as well.
We staff interpret the municipal code differently. When there are changes to the municipal code over time, then like the town used to permit a double access or loop driveway, and we don't anymore. And so we consider something that has the old regulations, we call that legal non-conforming. So it was legal at the time that it was built, but now it's non-conforming with today's code. So the general rule in planning is that when you demolish a house and build a completely new house, then you have to bring all of those things up to code. So that is staff's position and interpretation, which is common in many communities. So we respectfully disagree with the applicant's reading of that code. However, the decision does rest with BPTS. But we would ask you to just think about the intent of that code was to gradually over time remove loop access driveways from town. And so you should just keep that in mind and think about in this particular case, because you want to look at the facts of this case and treat it separately. In this particular case, Do you have enough information in front of you to find that the loop access driveway meets the municipal code for an exception related to safety? And if you do find that to be the case, then you can approve it. And if you don't find that to be the case, then you should deny it. And so that the interpretation of the safety rests with you. I hope that that's helpful.
Thank you, Laura. That's very helpful. Howard, I'll ask you for a final comment before time for the committee to deliberate on this for a moment.
Yeah, I would concur that concerning the municipal code, I mean, that's what the staff has to do, is follow the municipal code. And in this case, it defers to the traffic committee. The municipal code indicates basically loop driveways are not permitted unless it goes to the BPTS. I can tell you that there's no current planned public works right-of-way work for expansion of the road currently right now.
Okay, thank you. Yes, you may.
I just wanted to reiterate that it is the homeowner's contention that the loop driveway does meet the safety criteria for an exemption, and we are requesting approval based on that.
And through the chair, you should also open this up to public comments if there's any members of the public that wanted to speak on this.
Well, thank you, Laura. That's important. Yes, now would be a time for any public on this item. I see Caroline has raised a hand. Caroline, very quickly, please. We'll hear your comment.
Great, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great, I support the residents. I find it, I don't agree with the interpretation of the planning department. I also agree with the architect. This is an existing driveway, and as a resident, I don't agree with the interpretation from the planning director. That is a different interpretation than the municipal code was intended to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. Less deliberation on this for us. We could certainly personally see the benefit of having double access in this situation where you are in the location of a bend on a hill with possibly limited sight lines and other issues, allowing you to choose your entry and egress points according to the perceived safety of that situation.
Yeah. You know, it's not a very busy road, and even if there are parties and things like that, it's actually probably safer to have a one-way loop round. I just don't see why there should be. I don't see why one driveway would be safer than two driveways in this particular instance, because it's a quiet road. Very few people are going to come in and out, and I don't see any problem with approving it.
I don't either. More convenient, more applicable both for the ADU and for the homeowner. And,
the only thing that I find
not a lot of
procedure and difficult here is that it's been put upon BPTS to set, almost by accident, set a precedent.
Well, I think we should set a precedent. We absolutely should set a precedent.
You know, we're trapped by a municipal code. A resident with a very sensible case to retain what you have.
Well, this is the way out for the municipal code, and we are the people who can, you know, apply some common sense to the whole thing, and we should just approve it. I mean,
okay, in which case, I propose that the committee approves this application as it stands for that driveway.
I second it.
I'm sorry, through the chair, we're really having trouble hearing you on Zoom. If you could speak a little bit more into your mic.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Can you hear me better now? Yeah, I have a problem with microphones, as they just simply don't hear me, particularly Zoom, I think, has a means of filtering out my voice entirely. As most of my family will tell you. So we have just moved with my proposal that we accept the application as stated for reasons of safety and practicality. But
okay, so we need to make sure we have a motion and a second onto the record and into your minutes. And yes, I'm assuming that happened and we just couldn't hear it.
Yes, we did.
That is correct. Okay,
great. And then there should just be a vote that reflects the vote of all the people. So because this is an official approval.
Aye.
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 So that's a unanimous vote.
I just want to clarify the recommendation. You're not going with the recommendation in the memo, correct? Because the recommendation is deny. So it just some clarification for the minutes that you're allowing the double access driveway.
That is correct. I don't think there are any further comments on this particular item. Please let's move on to our second application. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Hello, BPTS committee. My name is Jamie Bourne. Thank you all for having me here today. I'm a consulting planner for the town of Portola Valley. And this item that I'm presenting today is also for an exception to retain an existing double access driveway for a single family residence and site development at 127 Ramoso Road. The applicant's proposing to demolish the existing single family residence, guest house, and pool and construct a new 4,592 square foot residence with 1,396 square foot detached garage, media room and bathroom, mechanical and pool equipment room, a detached 800 square foot state exemption ADU and 1,200 square foot SB9 unit are also proposed and will be accessed through a separate existing second driveway on Ramosa Road that is not being reviewed by BPTS committee today. When an applicant proposes to demolish a residence and construction of a new residence, the new design is required to meet all the requirements of the current municipal code. The applicant requests to retain and move one section of the existing double access driveway 30 feet north. BPTS committee considerations required pursuant to Portola Valley Municipal Code section, as you know, 15.12.300 driveway design entrances J, which states that double access or loop driveways with two entrances to a road or the street shall not be permitted unless determined necessary for reasons of safety by the traffic committee. To note, for this presentation, the applicant Carter War will provide a brief 1 to 2 minute presentation following mine. To support the request, the applicant's engineer provided a driveway analysis evaluating the safety of the existing double access driveway. To assist the BPTS committee with their decision, a peer review of the applicant's driveway analysis was performed by town engineering consultant Jay Radke of NV5 in consultation with Public Works Director Howard Young. The town's engineer provides an observation of the driveway analysis and concludes there does not appear to be justification to maintain the double access driveway for reasons of safety for access to the project site. Based on the information provided by the applicant's engineer and the observations made by the town of Portola engineering consultant, the town recommends that BPTS deny the request to maintain the existing double access driveway with construction of a new residence because it does not meet the municipal code criteria for approval of an exception. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Please let me know if you have any questions prior to or after to the applicant architect Carter War's brief presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very clear. Do we have any questions at this point? Or
Carter's going to show us. So, are you going to show us something, Carter?
I think then let's defer
Jamie, could you
until
put
we've
up
seen the full picture.
Site plan for us, please.
He's not coming through.
She's muted for a second.
Yeah.
I asked her to.
Sorry. Yes, just one moment. I will share my screen. Let me bring it up.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. So this is the existing site plan. And if I can approach to the chair, please.
Through the chair, we cannot hear Carter. He needs to be on a microphone.
Take your microphone with you and then we can all
Thank you for reminding me. So this is the existing driveway, entrance. And then there's a steep driveway that comes up, to a parking turnaround. You can see these are the topographic lines so that the site rises up to where the existing house is, and steeply, goes down, to the lower part of the lot, as does the street. It rises steeply and then flattens out, kind of, coming around this area. So the entrance comes up, and then there's a family kind of turnaround up here, and then steeply comes back down. But the location for guest parking, is in serial coming across on a level platform, a level plinth, about 10 feet below the main house, across here, and then, comes back down, to Ramoso, at a flatter section of the road. Jamie, can you go to the proposed site plan, please? Thank you. In this, in the proposed, we're maintaining the existing driveway and the existing pattern of development. The elevation between here and here is 8 feet of elevation change. So there's a family turnaround and family parking for, covered parking and some surface parking. But the guest parking, it continues to be, down here at the existing elevation, and the house is up 8 to 10 feet, above this. If these people, if we only had one driveway, we would need to back and turn around to get out. It is safer for these people to come out. This revised access, is more perpendicular, to the roadway, and gives better sight lines, up and down the road than even the existing two-lane driveway. And this is safer because these cars don't have to turn around on site.
Could you shift back to the previous map, please? Thank you. See, get an idea of the amount of the change of position. This is actually a very different case.
It goes from here to here.
I see.
It's moving over about 30 feet. So that this access, is more perpendicular to the road and has a better location, on the curve.
Okay, thank you.
And the safety is less about the safety of the street, but the safety of people on the site in this case.
I mean, our consideration is street safety, not safety on a property necessarily.
The ordinance says safety.
I don't necessarily. I mean, look, if you're cycling up that road, as one does, right? The question is, are cars going to come out of 2 lanes at once? Like if you cycle on El Camino, you've got lots and lots of cars coming out, and you've got to think all the time. If the cars are coming out one way and they're guests and they're coming out one way, it is much easier to then deal with the traffic when things all go in one way and they all come out the other way. So than having, I just think it's easier when it's like when the cars come in a regular kind of thing, rather than cars coming in and out at the same junction.
Much smoother.
It's smoother. It's smoother traffic. I mean, you get it here when you've got market going on, people coming in and out, and it's tricky when people have to turn around and come out, and some are coming in. But if they're all coming in one side and coming out the other, it's much easier.
Carter, would you describe the access for the main family home to access and egress for the main family home to be through the northernmost driveway, and only perhaps the guest parking to be making
correct
entrance through there? So this is almost like a 2-property consideration.
Well,
in a sense.
I mean, if I could get the proposed plan again, Jamie. Thank you. There's an existing driveway here, for a barn ADU. We're proposing two new ADUs. This driveway is allowed by right for the ADUs, separate from this. So this is about, providing safety, for the family and their guests, so that it's likely that the family that parks up here is going to, continue to go in and out, the existing driveway. And guests have always, parked along, this flatter section of the property and exited a different way, because backing up and turning around, that maneuvering is unsafe. And it has been, and it's because of the geometry and topography of the site that is specific to this site, that other sites don't have.
So Carter, the original driveway actually had more parking on it. Yeah.
Oh, yes, it did.
So wouldn't it be safer to have more parking and less off the road in case there's a big party?
Well, what we've done is actually widen this a little bit, so that we can actually get a bypass.
So you're saying you can park more cars on the new way than the old way?
And gain forward access out.
But the application isn't exactly the retention of an existing driveway. It is making a change to the whole site.
Yes, it has 3 existing driveways now. It has 3 new driveways, 2 in existing locations. This one is allowed by right, even if it wasn't there.
But that's not under consideration.
I understand. I mean, I was trying to deal, with your, talking.
Oh.
Battery, yeah.
Please bear with us. We're straightening out the microphone situation again. Carter, please continue. Thank you.
So the issue here is a safety issue, and it doesn't deal as much, with safety in the right of way, but it does have to do with safety. And the ordinance is clear that it talks about safety. It doesn't say safety in the public way.
Okay.
And it's our contention that this is a safer solution, that isn't asking, for a new driveway. It's asking for the relocation from this position to this position.
What's the approximate distance between the semicircle, both ingress and egress, both of those entrances?
That's about 75 feet. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good, thank you. I feel this is a slightly different case, although I do take your point about particularly the size of the property and the likely number of visitors and vehicles that it might entail. I should also put this out and invite any public comment that we may have on the item at this time, and also Howard, if you have comments to the application that you would like to make.
Yeah, through the chair. Once we receive public comment, I'd like to have our team comment on it also. Thank you.
Do we have any public comments at this time?
Have the neighbors been notified on this?
I don't.
Yes.
I do not see any hands raised for public comment. Do we have any committee comments at this time?
It seems no worse and no better than the existing plan. In some, you could say it's a little bit. I don't know whether it's safer or less safe to be further up and down Ramosa Road. So, I mean, it all depends, I think, on how many people are there and the quality of the driver to a certain extent. But it seems a safe enough plan to me, and I do not like things that have to turn around on the property coming out of. I would argue that 2 entrances in this particular case is safer than 1.
And would there be no opportunity to add a turning circle in place of the second driveway?
Would you like me to answer that?
The concern would have been for vehicles to have to reverse back to the turning pad for the main property rather than make their egress from the southernmost new proposed driveway.
It would require some kind of turning circle, You know, here.
Yes.
Oops, where'd my plan go? Turning circle, you know, and require, you know, additional construction, additional grading, tree removal, was actually identified by the Conservation Committee that there's a variety of scrub oak, you know, that isn't found elsewhere in town, you know, in this area. I mean, it sounds absurd, but you know, I didn't make it up. It's on the Conservation Committee's report.
Thank you very much. I don't have any further comment at this time. I think
I propose we approve it. And then it's Howard. Well, Howard's got to say something.
Howard does have some comments to make. Howard, please go ahead.
I just want to make sure I want to invite the applicant team back to comment on any issues that they can think of. Thank you. I mean our team. Sorry, if we can invite the town's planning and engineering consultants to respond as needed.
Yes, please go.
I would recommend reviewing the town's interpretation or observations based on the analysis that was provided by the applicant team.
Howard, this is Jay Radke. If we could pull up the site plan one more time, the existing site plan. So I just wanted to point out the existing loop driveway, that southerly loop, where it is at kind of the apex of the corner, is actually a safer condition because when you pull out, you can see down both directions of the street. If you pull up the proposed site plan, it moves it further around the corner so you can't see down the street to the south as well as with the existing driveway, which is probably why the existing driveway was located where it was.
So the alternative would be to keep it where the existing driveway is and make it go down the street. You think that'd be safer?
Yeah, I mean, if that's the committee's recommendation, our recommendation was just to, if you're going to provide parking on site, you just have a little, not a turnaround circle, the cars would just park and back up and go down the driveway. So there's really only one driveway necessary. But if the committee's recommendation is to leave 2 driveways for the main house, it would be safer to keep it where it is than move it where they're proposing, in our opinion.
Through the chair, we would stipulate that we would, continue to keep the existing driveway, if that's the recommendation of the committee.
I mean, you mentioned that opening up for an extra turning circle as concerns for the Conservation Committee. Did they express any concerns regarding moving the driveway and building that on some presumably currently unbuilt land?
The Conservation Committee would prefer that we keep the existing driveway and not impact those trees.
Thank you. That's clear. Howard, do you have any further comment? No.
Any further comments in the committee can Alpine.
Okay.
Fine with it so far. So we get more information.
Fine with the thing as planned, or retaining the existing layout?
Well, first of all, I like to make it just take a look at it. Just myself, go up there and take a look at the site.
My thought is the curves aren't that steep on Ramosa, so I don't, you could argue it's 90% safer or something, but I don't think that has much meaning because there's not that much traffic. And whether the driver is drunk has probably got more of an impact on it than the shape of the curve. So, I mean, I think both ways, even though you could argue a tighter curve is less safe, we have no evidence for that. We have no evidence that there've been crashes on Ramosa. So I think, you know, if the architect thinks it looks better coming slightly different place on a safety thing, I don't think there's any safety issue. I mean, I certainly think that 2 driveways is better than 1. And so the question is, do you keep the existing driveway? And well, I think if you're doing a clean sweep and a new layout, that to keep the integrity of the new layout and a wider driveway seems a good idea. Just go ahead with it, Carter, I would say.
Is the widening of the driveway incompatible with retaining the existing access point? It is not.
No, it's compatible.
I mean, the other thing is to join it right down to the other driveway, which seems an expense that, you know, you'd have a parallel road to Ramosa. Like, that would be too far.
My inclination will be to recommend retaining the layout as it stands. That's my opinion.
Have you been up there?
I have not. I do not know the site firsthand. So, whilst I don't like to incur more delay to the process, it might be worthwhile taking more time to review this and coming back to it.
Well, I mean, what's going to sway our hands between? You know, I can look at it and I can look at it. But what do you learn from? I mean, how does it affect the decision in some sense? I mean, there is a precedent to saying, well, you're changing something that already exists. So there's that, right? If you're changing something that already exists, then why not just leave it be if that works? I mean, there is that sort of precedent. That's why it's different, right? That's why it's different.
That's my feeling. Perhaps Laura, I could ask you a question on procedure, if you can hear me. Is it appropriate for the committee to take a vote on the different paths, or is that exceeding our bounds?
On the 2 different configurations?
Yes.
Oh, you could certainly do that. You could have a vote on either one and see which, if you have a motion on one and see if it passes, and then you could have a motion on the other and see if it passes. Or you could do what's just called a straw poll, and you could ask your members which one they prefer, so that you know where all the members are in terms of which alternative you prefer. That might be easier.
All right. I'd first like to ask the committee then which way they would prefer. Do we straw poll, or do we make a vote on each of the possible options, one of which would be to retain the existing access points, and the other of which would be to recommend that the change be allowed?
That's your call.
That's my call.
Yes, I just want to see the site. I like to see what the topography of it myself, Warren. I think it's right. I mean, 75-foot distance is a good distance there.
It's
ingress and egress.
It's complicated, but you know, I mean, there's a reason, you know, as Jay Radke, you know, said, that the existing development was developed the way it is, and it's principally because of, you know, the topography of the site, you know, and for safety, you know, of family and guests, and to change that, you know, as the architect, we look, you know, when we do look at a new house design, we look at, should we do something different? Is there some error in how the original development was? And what we found was that the original development was pretty well thought out. You know, the house was in about the right location. The garage was about in the right location. The pool was in about the right location, and so was the driveway. So as we developed a new house, because the existing house was old, antiquated, and had quite a bit of decay, we maintain much of the original development strategies, so that the house, the garage, the pool, the driveways were essentially the same. Just one more bit of explanation. The existing site, it was over the allowed impervious surface. And part of our motivation, in moving the driveway was to help make the site more compliant with the impervious surface numbers, because the impervious surface numbers counted all of that longer driveway. But we would be happy to deal with that differently if the committee would prefer the existing driveway location be retained. It would protect more trees, and it would continue to provide the safety and access for the residents and the family and the guests.
I've got another question. When you come out of a driveway, if your brakes are failing and you're coming down a steep hill, right? Is it just, it looks like a steeper hill the way you're proposing it, actually coming at right angles down to the road rather than a looser gradient. And I say this because I nearly got knocked off my bike at the end of Westridge the other day because someone didn't stop right at the stop.
It is a steeper gradient.
Yeah, so that is a safety consideration if you've got a truck with no brakes or somebody with no brakes coming out at a right angle. That would argue for the original driveway, I think.
It would, and we would support that. The critical issue for us, is having the ability to have safe parking, for guests, and family that are not coming up, to the garage turnaround.
I have one further question, which is we covered this in the previous application, and that is to and I can't remember if we asked or covered that point in this application, is what is the grandfathering of this particular driveway? How long has that been in existence since it was first planned?
I don't know the date of the original house. I think it's late 50s, mid 60s someplace, but it was clearly done with a building permit. It's in the Westridge Homeowners Association, so it was approved by the Homeowners Association. Since the Homeowners Association had design review in existence prior to the town.
Thank you. I think.
And just through the chair, just one reminder that there's attachments in your agenda packet, and that does include some pictures, if that is helpful to members of the committee.
I think I would like to propose the path that we recognize that 2 access points is beneficial to the property, and I'd like to take a poll on both retaining as existing and see where the committee stands.
Well, suppose we pass both. Suppose we pass both.
That's a good point. So that brings that. Well, then the proposal for that would be then to take a straw poll on option A, which would be retain, or option B, which would be a change. Accepting that 2 access points be retained. The prerequisite.
Well, then after that, we could vote that whatever wins the straw poll, you could vote. Do you want to have winning the straw poll as the accepted way?
Has this been brought up to the neighborhood again?
Yes, this is being reviewed, and has been reviewed by the Homeowners Association.
Has it been accepted?
They're actually wrestling with our second ADU. All of the other portions of the project have been approved.
Thank you. So would you like to make the determination on retaining 2 driveways first? Or?
I would vote which one we think, and then if whichever one we think, then have another vote saying, would we approve it?
Oh, this is somewhat semantic, but okay, I'm willing to accept that as a path forward.
It's fine with me.
We can't hear, thank you.
You cannot hear? Christy, the determination here is that we would like to see which is the preferred path forward, and then vote to accept it. So on the matter of option A, which is to retain the existing driveway, or option B, which is to accept the change as shown in the plans. So committee members, please express your preference. My preference is to retain the existing driveway.
You know, thinking about the slope down, I would retain the existing driveway, as I think that might be just a tiny bit safer. So I would say option A.
I still want to look at the site. I'd have a better understanding of it at that point.
Okay.
Most likely I'd keep the way it is, like you're saying, until I take a look at it.
So you're abstaining from the vote?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 2 in favor and 1 abstention. Our follow-up vote on that is to recommend the path forward, the recommended path forward by this committee would be to accept 2 access points for the site with a preference to retain the existing layout to the road.
I second that.
Agree.
That is my preference too.
So is that a vote of 3-0?
Yes.
Thank you.
I hope that is clear for the minutes and others attending this meeting. Laura, is that clear to you?
Yes, I heard a motion and a second, and then it sounded like a vote 3-0 in favor of allowing a double access driveway and retaining the existing configuration.
Okay, thank you. And Jamie, is that clear to you? Thank you. Howard?
Yes.
I just want to make one comment for the minutes. Is basically when you said preference, because so there's not I don't know what the intentions of the applicant team, so there's not a lot of back and forth. So we probably most likely should solidify that it should be retained as it currently exists. Would that be helpful, Laura?
Yeah, I understood the motion to keep the driveway access points in their current configuration.
And that is this committee's recommendation?
That is the recommendation.
That is the recommendation.
Yeah, that's clear enough for the record.
Recommendation of this committee is to allow 2 access points with the current layout as they meet the road.
From the applicant's standpoint, that translates for us that in order to retain the 2 access points, the plan needs to retain the existing driveway driveway access points.
That is correct.
Correct. So rather than a preference, it is a condition of your approval.
Yes.
Laura and I are talking a language that we talk every day.
Understood. Well, not understood, but yes.
We got it.
Language.
I think I hope that is clear to everybody. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us at your meeting today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carter.
Thank you, Carter.
We have, well, we're a little over time, but if we can sum our last items in a few 5 minutes. I know, Angela, you have a hard stop.
I have a hard stop. I mean, half past. I can leave it 25 to, but I do have an. I'm
already in trouble.
Okay, so Patrick Taylor is online. I just want to let the public know that, and so I'm ready to update too. So with the time limitations, do we do both or do we select one or the other?
Do it quick. If you can do it quick.
Quickly, the Public Works update. There's no major reported issues on parking on either, the usual spots, Alamos or Golden Oaks or Portola right now. But of course, there's been heavy rain. On the request to update on the tree removal at Brookside and Portola, currently we're going into contract with the contractor and we're scheduling sometime in mid-March. And that's a good time, better time to do it than in the current weather conditions right now. It'll be safer. Request an update on the parking signage at Windy Hill. I'm gonna wrap this up with the rapid flashing beacons also. We're currently working on those things. So those things are progressing. In addition to other items that we're doing in town too, storm related and trail related too. And so that is my quick update. And I'll pass it to Patrick Taylor, noting that there's limited time. Thank you.
All right, I'll make it real
Patrick,
fast for you.
please.
Hello. So for this meeting, we have January recovering. In January, we had 2 accidents, which is similar, which is actually less than last year. Last year, there was 4 accidents total. Both accidents this year, one was on Alpine Road, both of them were on Alpine Road this year. One was major injury collision with a bicycle. And in the interest of time, I've submitted those to you so you can read them if you want to put them out, what the incidents were. I also reformatted the annual reports that I send that have traffic and accident report yearly, since we do get a lot of bicycle questions. The new format that I'm sending includes a bicycle line for citations and a bicycle line for accidents.
Thank you.
Those should be attached.
Christy, I see that you have a hand up. Very quickly, please.
Yes, I have a tree down across from my driveway leaning against a power pole. It's close to the tree on Golden Oak and Alpine. It's the property of First One on Bear Gulch. I'd just like somebody from PG&E to look at it. It looks like it could be quite heavy, leaning into the pole. We don't want the pole to go down. We want the tree cut. And I want to feel safe. So that's one thing. And then where was the accident on Alpine Road with the biker? I'm just curious, thanks.
The bicycle is at Alpine Restradero.
All right, thank you. Alpine and Restradero, if you didn't catch that.
What's the injuries?
And I'm wondering, it wasn't attached to the agenda, so how will the public get a copy of this?
Thank you. This is a point I meant to bring up sooner. I would like to ask town to include those reports on our committee page if it's all possible, or make sure they're attached to agendas in the future. So I will try and grease those on that particular aspect. Christy, that's a very good point.
It'll be in the next agenda because this is of interest to the residents.
Certainly is. Thank you. Howard?
And Holland?
Through the chair, concerning the accident reports, that is sent to myself and also Ed. So I think, Ed, if you want to talk to Melissa, like when we assemble the agenda, once it's reviewed by you, if you could send it including to Melissa also, then she could include it in the package.
The question is, do you get it early enough for a week in advance? It may be better to add it onto the minutes.
Also, if I can say something real quick, we're working on including that on our website so that it's searchable data. We're working on updating that. It should be available in the next month or so, where all this information is searchable through the Sheriff's Office website.
Well, I think if it's in the minutes, we're going to see it a month late. So I think in the agenda makes more a timely manner for the residents to know where the hot spots are, and for us to always be aware that are driving on Alpine Road constantly. So I would love to see them in the minutes. I mean, in the agenda. It's only getting them in Friday before a Wednesday meeting.
Yes, and I think generally, Patrick, you're good about making sure those get to us in time. I think we can make sure those are in the agenda, and that's a good place for them.
And through the chair, concerning the tree down, typically that's not a BPTS committee item. Christy, we got your request early this morning, and we already sent out a crew to take a look at it. It is a private tree, so I can touch bases with you after that. But we prefer that maintenance issues are reported through PV Connect or directly to the town versus going through the BPTS committee. Ed,
yeah, the woman is elderly and she needs help. And last time the tree on her property stayed for 3 weeks and it was affecting people at the top of the hill. And I was getting a lot of questions when it's going to get fixed. So we need to support our elderly in town and help them as best as possible. She's a single elderly woman. Thank you.
Thank you. I think in the interest of time, I will defer our other committee business meetings until the next meeting. Sorry, how would you? Oh. Yes, passing some papers to Howard for those who can't see. Our ongoing committee business will be deferred to next month, the April meeting. I don't believe we have any further matters arising today. And so I'd like to declare the meeting adjourned. Our next regular meeting will be April 5th, 2023, 8:15 here at the schoolhouse and online for resident attendees. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.